Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Amir Oksana Georgievna. I'm Associate Professor of the English Department and the head of the English Language Master's Program, having been implemented in our university for more than 10 years. First, I will give you some brief overview on the program. The said program has an extensive history and equally far-reaching perspectives and the biggest challenges to confront. Our educational policy is focused on maintaining the positive achievements of the past and reforming education through the introduction of new approaches and technologies, meeting the current market demands and integration into global community. We aim at training a highly qualified specialist competent in teaching English at public and private educational institutions, as well as carrying out research in philology and methodology. The program will equip you with essential skills, giving you a competitive edge in the multiple education environments, providing career developments. Next, there's some information about examination procedure. Before the entrance examination, you will get an email with your login and password aimed right at the entrance examination. It's very important. In case you don't get that information, check your spam folder. The exam takes place on the 14th of August from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. You're supposed to go to the site an hour and a half prior to the closing time. Now we shall proceed with the content of the exam, which covers the multiple choice test and your portfolio. On the screen, you can see a system of assessing. Mind please, for the honors degree, you will get 5 points. For having been working for an education institution, you will get from 3 to 10 points. And a scientific article can give you another 5 points, but no more than 10 points on the whole, which makes the total maximum of 25 points. The online multiple choice test consists of 25 questions, with the time of completion being limited to 60 minutes. The test covers 5 global issues. Number 1, tenses. Number 2, sentence structure. Number 3, oblique mood. Number 4, prepositional phrases. Number 5, verbals. You are supposed to fill in the gaps, selecting the most appropriate option out of the ones given. Now, let us consider some examples. The director had already given the assignment when he, then comes the gap, that Monday was a holiday. I would strongly recommend you to consider the options first. Number 1 corresponds to the past simple tense. Number 2 corresponds to the past perfect tense. Number 3 corresponds to the past continuous tense. And number 4 corresponds to the past simple tense in the passive voice. According to the context, we need the active voice. That's why number 4 is wrong. The conjunction when is always associated with a definite moment in the past, which is related to the past simple tense. That's why number 1 is correct. Let us consider another example. I'm sorry, but this bag, then comes the continuation. According to the context, we need the passive voice. Let us consider the options. Number 1 corresponds to the past continuous in the passive. Number 2 corresponds to the present simple in the passive. Number 3 corresponds to the present perfect in the passive, and number 4 corresponds to the present perfect in the active voice. Now, if we turn to the beginning of the sentence, we see that the beginning is in the present time. That's why the continuation should be connected also with the present time orientation. That's why number 1 is wrong. Now we are to choose between number 2 is already sold and number 3 have been already sold. The subject of the construction corresponds to the third person singular. That's why auxiliary have is not correct. Consequently, the right variant is number 2. Next example. She must retype the report before she, then comes the gap, to the director. The sentence is related to the rule of the subordinate clauses of time and condition. In the subordinate clauses of time and condition, the future action is related by the present tense. Among the options provided, only number 3 corresponds to the present simple tense, which is considered to be right. Let's turn to the sentence structure. The fact that the space exploration has increased dramatically in the past 30 years, then comes continuation. While you're considering sentence structure, I would recommend you to trace the links between the subject and the predicate. The subject space exploration is related to the predicate has increased, while the subject, the fact, has no predicate. We are to find it in the provided continuation. Number 1 is an evidence of us wanting to know more of our solar system. So the fact is, everything seems to be okay. But then comes the word evidence, which is used with the indefinite article. You know that words like evidence, advice, information are never used with the indefinite article. Moreover, in the continuation, we've got the gerundial phrase wanting, and the nominal phrase was gerund is used in the possessive form. So number 1 is wrong. Number 2 indicates that we are very eager to learn all we can about our solar system. So the fact indicates everything is okay with the predicative line, and the continuation of the sentence seems to be right. But to be sure that we have chosen the right variant, we are to consider the rest of the variants. So number 3 and number 4. Number 3, how we want to learn more about the solar system. Again, the subject fact is left without predicate, which is wrong. If we turn to number 4, is pointing to evidence of our intention to know a lot much more about what is called our solar system. We can see the phrase a lot much more about something. We know that there are two phrases, a lot more and much more. But in the suggested variant, we've got the wrong segmental string like a lot much more. So we are referring again to number 2, which is correct. Next. Many of our current international problems we are now facing, then comes the continuation. Again, the subject we is related to the predicate are facing. The subject problems should be also related to some predicate. Number 1, linguistic incompetencies does not contain any predicate. Are the result of misunderstanding? Seems pretty good. Number 3, are because of not understanding themselves. That themselves sounds awkward. And if we turn to number 4, I would like to draw your attention to the item lacks. The item lack may function as a verb as well as the noun. If it is the verb, then it is used without any preposition to lack something. Moreover, the subject problems is in the plural. That's why the verb should be without morphological suffix s. So, number 1 is considered to be right. The next question is related to the oblique mood. I would recommend you to take the traditional classification of the oblique mood, which discriminates 4 types of the oblique mood, namely the conditional mood, the suppositional mood, subjunctive 1, and subjunctive 2. The chairperson demanded that, and then comes the continuation. You should remember that after verbs like suggest, demand, insist, require, request, we should use the so-called suppositional mood. The suppositional mood is formed by the auxiliary should and simple infinitive to denote the simultaneity and perfect infinitive to denote the priority. In the cited example, number 4 corresponds to the right variant. The members study the problem more carefully, since the auxiliary should may be easily omitted from the context. And here the item study is not the present simple tense, but simply the infinitive. The simple infinitive, which denotes the simultaneity in the past. Moreover, if we change the beginning of the sentence from the past into the present, for example, the chairperson demands that, the continuation will be the same. The members study the problem more carefully. Even if the subject is in the singular, like the member, we should leave the infinitive as it is, study, not studies, since this is bare infinitive, not the conjugated verb. And in this way, the infinitive would render the simultaneity in the present. Next example. This bus journey seems never ending. I wish we, then comes the continuation, a car. After the phrase I wish, in the majority of cases, we can use either the conditional mood or subjunctive 2. If we've got the simultaneity, it might be conditional mood or subjunctive 2. But if we mean the priority, then only subjunctive 2 is used, namely subjunctive 2 past. So, I wish we had taken a car. Next sentence. I would rather your friends, then comes the gap, in the garden then. After phrases like would rather, had better, would prefer, we use subjunctive 2 when the second part starts with another subject. Here we've got the subject friends. It means that after the subject friends should come subjunctive 2. Among the options provided to the form of the subjunctive 2, number 2 and number 4 are related to subjunctive 2, but number 2 is related to subjunctive 2 present, while number 4 is related to subjunctive 2 past. We've got the item then, which indicates the priority. Consequently, number 4 is correct, hadn't smoked. Let us consider the next example. If I, then comes the gap, they were coming, I would have met them at the station. This is the traditional example of the use of the oblique mood. In the main clause, we use the conditional mood, would have met, and in the subordinate clause, subjunctive 2. The conditional mood is formed by would plus simple infinitive to render the present time orientation, and would plus perfect infinitive to render the priority. In the cited example, the priority is met. In the subordinate clause, we use subjunctive to present to denote the present time orientation and subjunctive to past to denote the past time orientation. And naturally, we need past time orientation, which corresponds to number 3, had known. Now, let us turn to prepositional phrases. You know that with means of transport we use preposition by plane, by train, by bus. But if the lexical item which modifies the means of transport is modified by another item, for example, Tom's car, a car, any car, then the preposition is different. With car and taxi, we use preposition in, while with other means of transport, preposition on. So the correct variant sounds like this. Are you going by bus? No, we are going in Tom's car. Next. Someone threw a stone, then comes the gap, the speaker, and it hit him, another gap, the head. If the target is definite, and here the speaker indicates the definite target, the verb to throw is used with the preposition at. So, to throw a stone at the speaker and to hit him on the head. With words like days and weather, you should keep in mind that preposition on is used with days and preposition in is used with the item weather. So the correct variant sounds like this. On wet days, we go by car. In fine weather, we go on foot. Next. Some of the questions are related to verbals. Verbals are non-finite forms of the verb, which are the infinitive, the gerund, subjunctive 1, subjunctive 2. Let us consider the example. Mary's dress needs, then comes the gap. You know that two words like need and want may be used with gerundal phrases to denote passive meaning. In the cited example, we need to express passivity. That's why variant 2 is considered to be correct. Of course, the infinitive in the passive is also correct in this way. But in number 1, there is no particle 2. And without particle 2, this item is not correct. Next example. They object, then comes the gap, to the dinner party. Sometimes the item 2 is ambiguous. It may function as a particle introducing the infinitive, or it may function as a preposition introducing the gerund. After the verb to object, the gerundal phrase is used. That's why options number 1 and number 3 may be taken into consideration. On the other hand, with the gerundal phrase, the nominal identification is used with the passive form. That's why number 3 is correct. To his coming. Let us consider the next example. Rachel could see the girl, then comes the gap, an envelope into the box. So this sentence is related to the so-called complex object. We know that after the verbs of sensual perception, such as see, notice, smell, hear, we can use either bare infinitive or participle 1 or gerund. Among the options provided, number 3 corresponds to bare infinitive, which is considered to be right. Janet, then comes the gap, on an electric stove after having a gas one for so long. This sentence is related to two phrases. Used to do something, which denotes repeated action in the past, and to be or to get used to doing something, which is translated like привыкать. Let us consider the options again. Number 1 is used to cooking, sounds pretty good, which corresponds to привыкать, готовить на электрической плите. Number 2, used to cooking, does not exist. Number 3 is used to cook, does not exist either, and number 4, used to cook, relates the repeated action in the past. Consequently, number 1 is considered to be right. By the way, you can get ready for the test taking advantage of any English grammar textbooks, since the analyzed issues are related to traditional grammar. I will be happy to answer your questions on the tutorial day, which is the 30th of August, via the email, which you can see on the screen, pooophin@rambler.ru, or via WhatsApp +7 917 4537 195. I will be glad to see you among our students. Thank you for your attention.